Hello, this is Hervé from Comic Book Bin, filming since 2002. We're going to be looking at the second G.I. Joe communicator right now, communications officer. This is Dial Tone, whose original gear was completely 1986. He's been updated for the G.I. Joe classified line. It's a good thing. Otherwise, I don't know what he would have done with all that retro gear. Dial Tone was a geek and a bit weird in the cartoons. He still looks weird, but at least he's got a great figure. Let's look at him in more detail and how he fares with his other communicators, communications officer at G.I. Joe. So Dial Tone is the replacement communication officer in replacement of Breaker. Now this is Breaker. He came with the Vamp motorcycle. And there's going to be a new Breaker fairly soon. Now, when Breaker arrived, he didn't come with any weapon. He only came with his communications helmet, and that's the only communication gear he has with him. The new Breaker will come with a huge radio, which is very retro, and a little bit of gear, but not much. So this is Breaker, who's obviously sporting the original Falcon radio. In this case, it looks good. Well, he didn't come with any radio, so better that than nothing else. He's very loose, as you can see, mostly because he's been bent on the RAM cycle for several years, but he still stands up pretty well. And this second Breaker action figure is actually my version of Sparks. Sparks was a character that we saw mostly in the cartoon series, but we also saw him later on in the G.I. Joe comics. Now, Sparks is also a communications officer. He was created for the G.I. Joe team. I don't know why they created him when they had Breaker, but he was featured in several episodes, and I gave him the only head that would fit on the neck peg at the time, which was one of the Captain America MCU heads of Chris Evans. Now, this head fits on him, except because it sits pretty high, it looks like he has a very long neck, which is why he's wearing one of Stalker's scarf to hide the fact that his neck is very long. So this is my version of Spark, who also sits on a rhyme cycle most of the time. And because of this mask, I don't have to see the Chris Evans face, 3D mask, and we don't know who he is. Again, when I discuss the fact that their neck is very long, you can see that Chris Evans or Sparks is much taller than Breaker, even though the body is exactly the same. It's the neck that does a difference. But very few figure would fit the same neck peg as the original Breaker. Those legs are extremely wobbly, as you can see, mostly because they've been bent on the RAM cycle for years. Okay, let's go back to Dial Tone now. So let me remove all the stuff from Dial Tone so you can see what he comes with. Well, the radio over here is attached with the antenna, so you can't remove it, unfortunately, but you can remove the knife here. It's not painted, it's black plastic, and he also has a cell phone that he can hold in his hands. You can even see the tiny camera, and technically you can put the cell phone on his weapon like this, as if he's viewing the action with his phone. It's kind of weird, but that's Dial Tone for you. Of course, you can remove the ammo. Dial Tone has a removable beret. You can see that they've put some face paint on him. If you're careful, you can see that the line here, you can't see it well on the camera. The airline here, the base of the skin is not the same as the rest of the paint of his face. It's a little bit lighter here. The beret is new. It's not reused from another figure. It's made custom for him. As you can see, quite different from the one Falcon wears. So like I mentioned, some of the parts seem to be from Airborne. I'm not sure exactly what they used to construct this figure. He's still very stiff. So Dial Tone, he seems a bit, I don't know, shy. He's the new Joe communicator with much better gear than the other guys. Now, his communication device is kind of weird and cool. It's got a camera that you can move around here and another surveillance port here. Obviously, by now, you all know what you can do with the backpack. So there's a controller inside. It's not a real laptop, but it looks like the one Mainframe had in the original G.I. Joe 1986 line. It really looks like the same computer that Mainframe had. Well, the size would be almost the same. So it's not a regular laptop. It's a keyboard-like thing. So we can see that they've took parts from Mainframe and gave it to Dial Tone. So this thing is hollow, which means it's not just equipment. So this antenna over here, much bigger. And here I go unplugging this thing. Be careful, I don't want to break it. This is an antenna, not a camera. But if you want it to be a camera, you can. It's your Joe's. You do whatever you want. What's funny is that there's a metal frame here to support the backpack and this weird antenna. I hope this thing can really go all the way to the satellite, that this is hardcore equipment here. I hope so. The thing I like with this gear and dial tone in general is that he mimics what we call network warfare. Well, a lot of the Joes do, but he does it with this super equipment. So what is network warfare? It's total awareness of everything from the battle, from the base. When you have people on the ground, you know exactly, you can see everything that they see. And they use that kind of technology to guess where opponents are and so on. So I can picture dial tone having that function with the Joes, the total awareness gear, and he carries all of that on his back. Also has a speakerphone or something like that. It's fun to see this equipment. Others have noted that it means we're gonna get another Joe coming soon. Sight Out, I think his name is. And this weapon, which we haven't seen before. I guess it's made just for dial tone because it can put his phone inside like this. Pretty cool feature. He's got an original neck because he has a mic on his neck also here, and here plugs there. He's very stiff also, but I'd rather him being stiff than those two guys who are very loose. He came in the same wave with Leatherneck, Xandar, and the Saw Vipers. Now, I've already mentioned that the art in the background used for both characters is from the Space Needle restaurant that was shot into space in one of the G.I. Joe cartoon episodes. That's the Space Needle from the G.I. Joe episode where Leatherneck and Dial Tone with wetsuit went into space. I'm too much of a geek, it seems. My G.I. Joe lore is too developed. So this is Dial Tone. Nice figure. I like his face. Very nice face. Nice figure. Very tactical. I like him. I recommend him, of course. This is Hervé from Comic Book Bin, feeding you in since 2002. Like and subscribe.